Good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to be here with I call him Dr. Landlord. Dr. Joseph Asamoah is in the house. Met Joe many years ago, and we just had a discussion. I thought I had sent him some deals many years ago, but I guess I didn't.
No.
But so Joseph, you spoke at many of my events over the last few years, my boot camps and investment club meetings and things like that. And I just want to just say thank you for being here, and also really thank you for what you've done in the community in terms of renovating properties in certain areas and renting them out to Section 8, which is your sweet spot. And so we'll talk a lot about Section 8 and what Joseph does, which people like me have tried to really duplicate. But Joseph, why don't you go ahead and just kind of introduce yourself and just kind of give us your background. How'd you get started in investing?
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks a lot for inviting me, Greg. It's always an honor to be with you. And hopefully I can provide some quality content to your audience. But essentially, I used to live in England. I was born in Ghana, in fact. And, when we were 5 years old, moved to England. And so I was raised there, then came to the US about 37 years ago. My first foray into Washington, into real estate was after a couple of years here. And it was a complete disaster. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. You know how they deal. But I learned a lot from that experience and about what not to do. And then I gradually bought more houses. But I kept my houses. I didn't sell them until about 2003 when my income from my rental properties equaled what I was making on my job. So I was able to transition from the corporate world into a full-time real estate investor. So essentially what I do, I buy houses, fix them up. I keep my homes primarily for long-term appreciation, cash flow, tax benefits, and wealth building.
And so why did you get into real estate? Why real estate?
Well, I said when I came here, my boss, he after 6 months of being here, he got fired. And not for anything he did wrong. It was just there was a reorganization, and he was let go. And so we had lunch a few weeks later, and he just says, "Joe, look, this is America. These things happen. If it happens to me, it could just as well happen to you. Make sure you have a plan B." I have my plan B. I have these rental properties, and this guy had like 10 houses, which I couldn't fathom. How can anybody have more than one? It just it was like, whoa, 10, unbelievable. So he had his plan B was residual income, passive income through real estate. So he just asked me to check the real estate out. And if you buy anything, make sure you keep them. That's the advice he gave me many, many years ago. So I bought my first house, in fact, in 87 in Washington, in Columbia Heights for $47,000. Can you believe that? And people were telling me I was paying too much. I was getting duped. I still own that house. But I that's how I got into it. And that's the reason why is because of his words saying that, if you keep these houses in the long term, you'll be very grateful. And so I didn't know what I was doing, but I kept his advice and just kept on holding houses.
And so let's talk about that house. Is that the house that that's not the house that you lived in? Did you live in that house?
No, that the house I lived in was the second house I bought, but the first house was it's not too far from Howard University in Northwest, and it was occupied by some tenants, and I didn't know. I did zero due diligence because I didn't know what I was doing, and as I said, it was a disaster. And but the second house I bought, I purposely bought that. That's also in Columbia Heights, not too far from. Anyway, it's in Columbia Heights. So essentially, I bought that house, lived in it, and I rented the basement out, and I rented 2 other rooms. At that time, the word house hacking didn't exist. It was, how can I buy this house and not pay a mortgage? That's what I called it. Right. And so the goal was to buy the house, live in it, reduce my housing expenses. And so therefore, I can essentially save money so I can buy house number 3. And save money so I can buy a house number 4, and so on. So that's really what I was doing, was to keep my expenses low, and because I knew the power of real estate. I got it very, very early, thank God, and realized that although the DC area wasn't that hot at that time, it was just a matter of time before it would be on the upswing. But nobody knew when. But I realized that if I bought it and hold it, it's just a matter of time before it's going to come to my favor.
And why is DC such a prime area for investing in real estate? And why DC pretty much investing in DC is pretty much recession proof?
Well, I've done a lot of travel around the world, and there are certain fundamentals which it is what it is. It's the same throughout the world. Okay. And that is whenever you think of a country, okay, the first place you think about is the capital of that country. So if I say England, you're probably going to think of London. If I say France, you're going to think of Paris. If I say Italy, you're going to think of Rome, and so on. And so there's only one capital for every country. And most capital cities have the same characteristics. First of all, it's where the money is. That's just the way it is. It's where the money is. And it's usually the seat of power. And it's usually more, the economy is usually a lot more resilient in the capital than most other places. And real estate, as you know, is very tied to the local economy. And as a result of that, capital cities usually are more recession resistant. I mean, they'll go through ups and downs, but they tend to be a lot more resilient than other parts of the country. And so if you can own real estate, and also capital cities tend to be very land limited. Like in DC, it can't grow into Maryland or Virginia. It's very, so supply and demand, naturally plays out in capital cities. So that's the reason why I think it's a good idea to own. If it's not in the capital city, then usually in the capital area.
Absolutely. And so we're starting to see that now. And I'm starting to see areas like Prince George's County, Maryland, starting to appreciate because there's areas in DC that are just not affordable. And so areas around the capital city, DC, I'm starting to see really appreciate, and rents are going up. Section 8 rentals just went up in Prince George's County. Right. But I do see in DC, where I also own properties, just appreciation. It's just
it's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Joseph, tell us a story about you had bought a property, I think in Capitol Heights or Temple Hills many, many years ago. And at the same time, for the same amount, you bought a property in DC. Yeah. Can you kind of tell us the difference between the two?
Sure. I mean, every investor has different objectives. Okay. And some investors are focused on cash flow, which is fine. And other people focus on other things. I realized that the real money, after you cut through the chase, the real money is appreciation. And the reality is that not all areas appreciate the same. They just don't. And so if you believe that appreciation is where the real money is, then what I've learned is, after it took me a long time to figure this out, is that you want to buy in areas where you're more likely to appreciate. Makes sense? And so in every area, whether it be Washington, Prince George's County, Montgomery County, LA, New York, Boston, I mean, not all areas appreciate the same in those cities. And so once you understand the dynamics, then if you're savvy, in my opinion, you buy in areas where it's likely to appreciate. So the example is that in the mid-90s, I bought a house in Washington, D.C. for $100,000. And at the same time, I bought a house in Temple Hills for $100,000. Okay, same time. I rented both. So I went through all the trials and tribulations of landlording. And so you fast forward to today, the house in Temple Hills may be $380, $390, something like that. The house in Washington is now $850. Okay,
that says it all.
Yeah, it says it all. And so when I look at my portfolio, I'm saying, whoa, hold on a minute. Something's going on here. And so I realized, therefore, that if I'm going to acquire, I'm not just going to buy anything anywhere. I'm going to be a lot more strategic, a lot more targeted, because I want the appreciation. But the problem is that it's hard to get in these markets like Washington. It's hard to cash flow because you're paying so much. It's hard to cash flow. So you got this sort of dilemma. You want appreciation, but you can't get cash flow. Okay, you want cash flow, but you can't get appreciation. You know what I mean? So therefore, I was able to figure a way through the Section 8 whereby you can get both cash flow and appreciation. And that's pretty much drives what I do, is that I want that cash flow, because obviously it's not sustainable if it's negative cash flow.
Right.
But I also want the appreciation, and I've realized that not all areas appreciate the same, and so on.
So Joseph, what's your model? What's the sweet spot? You're buying in areas, even areas in DC that are appreciating. You're bringing a lot of value to the properties to make sure that they cash flow. And so you might buy a 3-bedroom, 1-bath row house in, let's say, Capitol Heights, but you can actually see the value, how you can bring value to that property, and get the cash flow. How do you? I've watched you do it, but tell us how do you do that?
Sure. Okay, let me give you an example. Okay, what I'm talking about. I just bought a house, 4 months ago in Washington, in a neighborhood called Eckington. Okay. It's a typical DC row house. It's got 3 bedrooms upstairs, a bathroom upstairs, and living room, dining room, kitchen on the first floor, and a rec room in the basement. Okay. So the house next door, right next door, was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house, and they were renting that house, okay, for $3,500, right next door, okay? So I bought this house that I bought, and I added 2 extra bedrooms in the basement. Okay, that's all I did. I mean, obviously I renovated the house, but I turned it from a 3-1 into a 5, okay, bedrooms, okay? It really turned out to be a 5, 3.5. The fact that I understood how the Section 8 program works, and it's based on 2 things and 2 things only, which is the location, either the zip code or the neighborhood, and the number of bedrooms. I was able to get, instead of $3,500, I was able to get $5,472, almost $2,000 a month difference, just by adding those 2 bedrooms in the basement. You follow me? So that's what I'm saying, is that there is a way whereby, although the prices are crazy, you can still get cash flow, but you're also in a very, very strategically, great location where it's close to shopping, the metro, transportation, all that stuff that people are looking for. And so you're more likely to get appreciation in the long term as well. So it's a long-term play. Okay, this is not a short-term play. This is a long-term play, and you're making a bet, that the area is going to increase. So going back to your example of Capitol Heights, or any other place, again, once you understand how the Section 8 program works, and it's based on location, and it's also based on the number of bedrooms, you can do things that you can likely get increased rent. Okay, so for the same asset. So the house, so if you bought a 3-bedroom, 1-bath in Capitol Heights, you kept it the same, 3-bedroom, 1-bath, you'll get 1 rent, whatever that is. Okay, if you were
right now, 1903.
Okay, 1903. Yeah. So another investor may be savvy enough to turn it into a 4-bedroom. Okay, and they'll get,
about $500 more a month.
$500 more. Okay, same house. I may be able to turn that thing into a 5-bedroom, okay, and get maybe another 400 or 500 more.
Yeah.
So 3 people could have bought the same asset, okay, and one gets $2,000, another one gets $2,500, another one gets $3,000. The same asset, okay, and one maybe break even, one maybe get a decent cash flow, and one gets positive cash flow. The same asset. So that's essentially what I realized, is that there's a way whereby you can, I mean, that's just part 1. I mean, there's a whole nother discussion about, finding a tenant and managing that relationship. But we can discuss that a bit later on. But I mean, but the rationale, I think, is still the same, is that that's only possible through Section 8. It's not possible through market renters.
No. And so why Section 8? You discovered Section 8. You probably, like me, thought it was the best thing since sliced bread. You probably thought, like me, that you was stealing money. Why Section 8?
Well, you and I may think that way, but most people don't see it that way. when they hear the word Section 8, it's like, oh my God, drama, chaos, hoodlums, gangsters, they're going to trash my house, nonstop mayhem. I mean, that's what people associate with Section 8, not what you and I may think. And so most people are just fearful of the whole stereotype and baggage associated with the Section 8 program, Section 8 tenants, dealing with the bureaucracy of the housing authority and so on. So, but there is a way to, once you understand how that whole thing works, there's a way whereby you can work it in your favor. So I like it because it's a pool of guaranteed income. I've been through 4 real estate cycles. Okay. And I can tell you one thing. When you go through a downturn, you don't want to be the guy standing up when the music stops. Okay. It is not pretty. And so, you want a strategy whereby if the music stops, you're okay. Okay. And so you have a contract with the government, which is funded by and underwritten by the government, HUD. So you're going to get paid as long as that tenant's in the house. And what I found also is that, if you're good at screening, if you're good at screening, a lot of the tenants, once they come in, tend to stay longer, than market renters, because the bulk of their rent is paid by the housing authority and not them. And I also, my thing is, I also enjoy, this is just a personal thing now. I enjoy making a difference in other people's lives. I mean, housing is such a fundamental, factor that, you can make a huge difference in people's lives. And so you can leave a lasting legacy. And so we can talk, that's a whole nother thing, which most investors, obviously, they don't care about that. They're just about the money. But I've realized that it's not just about you. It's not just about me. It's about what difference can we make while we're here. And I think we can do that as well.
I think because of that, and you self-manage all your properties. You don't have a property manager. But I think because you're hands-on and that you care, your tenants stay a lot longer. And you're changing their lives. They're living in better neighborhoods. They're going to better schools.
Sure.
You always tell the story about some even going to college because of the neighborhoods that you've been able to put them into.
Yeah, let me tell you. Okay, I got so many stories. I got a house up in Old City. We turned it into a 5-bedroom, and that's in Washington D.C. Sorry. And so I put it out for rent. I got quite a few applications. And as part of my screening process, I go visit people's homes to see how they keep their home. Because what I found is that how they keep their home today is how your house is going to be in 3 months. Okay. That's been my experience. If you like what you see, you're good. If you don't like what you see, that's how your house is going to be. and so anyway, so I went to visit this lady's home. And it was a pretty rough part of Southeast and, pretty high crime area. And the first thing when I went inside her house, she said, look, don't judge me by what's outside. Okay. Because I have no control over this neighborhood. Judge me by what's inside my home because I have control over that. And her home was immaculate. It was spotless. The kids are well behaved, well disciplined, and a really good family. And she was just telling me, look, every day, my biggest concern is that on the way home from school, my kids are going to get shot and killed. Every day, that's what she's worried about. Okay. Now, you may be worried about is your Starbucks coffee too hot, or there's not enough ice in your drink at the restaurant. She's worried about her kids getting killed. Okay. And she was saying, look, if you give me a chance, I'll prove to you that you've made the right decision. She's just looking for somebody to give them a chance, that she can leave that environment and be in a better environment for her children so they can go to a better school and they can be around positive people and hopefully they can sort of prosper. So these are some of the things that we can do as investors, housing providers, and help other people. So, as I said, several of my children, some of my tenants' children, have gone to college, just by the fact that they've been in a better area. One of them I spoke to about 4 months ago. Two of her kids have got full ride to go to college.
Wow.
And she said that would be no way would that have happened if the kids were where she was before. No way. So these are some of the things that sort of the spin-offs when you are able to buy houses in better areas, and because you can attract a better quality tenant who's likely to stay there and take care of your house, pay the rent, and be pleasant to deal with.
And I know that you partake in their lives as well, and you give incentives for being good tenants. Talk a little bit about some of the incentives you give your tenants for being good tenants and getting good grades and all those kinds of things.
Right. I mean, what I've learned is this, okay? And you may understand it, but a lot of landlords, a lot of investors don't, okay? They get caught up on the fact that, okay, I'm making $200, $300, $400 a month cash flow, okay? They get caught up on that. Okay, this is making money and so on. That may be true until you have a turnover. Okay. A turnover is when the tenant leaves and your place is vacant. You got to paint it again. You got to clean it again. You got to look for a new tenant. So now all that cash flow that you made gets wiped out. Okay. Every turnover is going to cost you at least 1 month, typically 2 to 3 months of lost income. Okay. Every turnover. So if you can't figure out a way to minimize that, you really make no money. Okay. And that's been my experience. A lot of people don't understand that. And so most investors tend to focus on the income side. How can I increase my rent by $20, $50, $100? I'm saying no. The biggest determinant of your cash flow is the biggest expense that you have, which is turnover. So if you can control that, then you're more likely to cash flow in your pocket. So this is a roundabout way of saying, if people are happy, if my tenants are happy, okay, they're more likely to stay. Okay. And if they're unhappy, they're more likely to leave. So therefore, once I realized that, my whole business changed into making sure my tenants are happy. Okay. And so then the next question is, okay, what does happy mean? And what do you do to promote that? And so what I do is, well, first of all, if something goes wrong, I fix it as soon as possible. If every Mother's Day we give our tenants bouquets of flowers, every Christmas we send them presents. If the kids get A's at school and show me a report card, give them $50, and all my tenants get free vacations. I mean, this is because here's the bottom line. Okay, let me just tell your audience then. Let's say one of your I'm gonna create a fictitious person called Alicia because I your assistant. Okay, let's say Alicia is a tenant. Okay. And she's looking for a house to rent. She has a choice of going to Greg's house or going to Joe's house. You follow me? You and I both want Alicia because she's a good tenant. She pays her rent. She's got a history of keeping up with the place and so on. So she's a tier 1 tenant. So you and I want her. Okay. And so she has choices. She can go to your house or my house. So what I'm going to do is to do my best to attract her by having a quality product in a quality area, okay? Because she's concerned about her children, the safety, and so on. So I'm going to attract her by having a better house in a better area. And so she's more likely to gravitate towards me. Now, that gets Alicia into my house. Part 2 is if I don't take care of Alicia and she's happy, and if she's unhappy, she's going to leave me and go somewhere else, okay? So if I start giving Alicia Mother's Day gifts, bouquets of flowers, Christmas presents, I fix stuff, you don't stand a chance of getting her. You don't, Greg. She's staying with me forever. And that's how I get my 5, 10, 15, 20-year tenants. Okay. It's a fundamental business shift, realizing that your tenants are your customers. And we all know you're a business person. It's cheaper to keep an existing customer happy than it is to go find another one. And so how do I keep my existing customers? How do I keep my existing tenants happy so I don't have to go find another one? I mean, it's that kind of concept.
Yeah, a lot of landlords I see have an adversarial relationship with their tenants. And I tell them, no, they're not your enemies, they're your friends. And so we have a property in Deanwood right now that we bought for I think we bought for around $250. The mortgage balance now is about 190. It's a 3-bedroom, 3.5 bath, semi-detached. The after repair value now is almost 600,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had one Section 8 tenant the whole time.
Yes.
And so I have $400,000 in equity in that one property, partly because she's taking good care, hasn't given me any problems. Car got broken into a few months ago. She called me and said, "Mr. Bennett, can you put up a fence?" I ran over there. I had my contractors run over there, put up a 6-foot fence.
Yeah, right. I can see you running over there.
I didn't actually run. My contractors ran. But we put up the fence, and it's because,
right,
in my mind, she's made me over $400,000 in less than 3 years.
Sure.
So why wouldn't I do that? Why wouldn't I keep her happy?
Sure.
And
yeah. I mean, again, that's a fundamental mindset shift. Okay, most landlords don't see it that way. Most landlords, they don't want to see the tenant, they don't want to hear the tenant, they don't want to be bothered with the tenant. All they want is their money. That's it. As long as they get the money, that's all they care about. Okay, they don't see it from a business perspective, which is if your tenants aren't happy, then you're going to lose that income, you're going to lose that customer. So a little thing like a fence, may mean a lot to her. And it may be something that if you didn't do or you blew it off, she may say, "I don't like this house anymore. I'm going to go somewhere else," and then she'll call me. And then you lost her. She's not coming back to you. She's gone.
But to your point, now I've got turnover. And so now I've got to go clean up the house.
Yes.
Now I've got a couple of months of of lost rental income.
Yeah.
And so that's the worst thing. That's the worst thing about rental properties is turnover. You want to try to avoid turnover at all costs.
Yeah, and you can do that by first of all screening well. And because every tenant, every person has a history, and as a landlord, your job is to understand that history. And so if you can screen well, then that's half your battle. And then the rest of the time is just a matter of maintaining and managing that relationship, nurturing that relationship. Simple things. I mean, a bouquet of flowers is $30. That's it. But in terms of the goodwill it engenders and the gratitude, it's amazing, and so on. So again, it's good business in my opinion, and these are some of the things that I think that if your audience understands, then they can really truly leverage the power of real estate.
Absolutely, and the power, like you said, the power is in appreciation and equity.
Yes, yeah. And I mean, if you like, you can get a house that appreciates in value. Now, a house with a lot of equity by itself is okay, but the power I think is tapping into that equity, leveraging that equity to acquire more properties.
Right.
So one house can then spin off multiple houses, and that's how you can fast track your wealth building. And as I say, it looks good on a piece of paper. You got all this equity, but if it's not doing anything, then it's not really you're not really maximizing it. And so that's. But obviously, you don't want to tap into that equity to buy a new car or clothes or
You want to use it to build wealth.
You want to use it to build wealth and so on. But it's crazy. I mean, I got some houses, $800,000-$900,000 worth of equity. It's crazy.
And so, Joseph, you're buying in better neighborhoods. Those here in the DMV area know of Eckington and Columbia Heights, those type of areas. What level of finishes are you putting in your renovations and why?
Yeah, I mean, I reached the point now whereby I know the kind of customer I'm looking for. Okay. I've been through 4 cycles. Okay. And that has taught me many lessons. And the biggest lesson is all good things come to an end. Okay. And when the end arrives, Alicias of this world have choices. Okay. For every Alicia, which is, that's yours. I mean, I'm giving the example of a tenant.
We could call her Alicia. Her name actually Ashley.
Okay. I'm sorry, Ashley. Okay. Ashley. Ashley. Sorry, Ashley. So when the downturn arrives, okay, a lot of investors who are flipping homes are unable to sell their homes. Okay. They paid a lot, they can't flip it, and now they have two choices: to reduce the price, but they paid so much that they're going to lose money, or they're going to turn around and rent it. Okay. So now I, as a regular renter, a landlord, I'm now competing with other flippers. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Who, under normal circumstances, I wouldn't be competing with them. Okay. But because the market shifted, I'm now competing with those folks. So the apartment building guy is now competing with the condo guy. Okay. Because the condo guy can't sell his condo and so on. So now Ashley can go to my home or go to a flipper's home. And if her rent is still the same, then she's going to gravitate towards the better products, better house and better areas, if that makes sense, because her rent's still the same. It doesn't matter to her. And so what I realized is that I need to be able to attract Ashley regardless of the good times or bad times. So I need a better quality product so I can attract her. And so that sort of directs what I buy. I fix it up in such a way that I don't have a problem living there myself. I mean, we do some pretty major renovations, $150,000, $200,000, $250,000 renovations. These are full rehabs. And so I now have options to either flip the home. I have two exit strategies at this point. I can flip it if I have to, but I also can rent it out and so on. So I do pretty good size renovations, but I primarily focus on increasing the number of bedrooms, usually from 3 to 4 to 5 or to 6. Yeah. You okay? You're mute.
All right. Yeah. So I think that comes with experience to be able to look at a property and see what kind of value you can put into that property, so that you can put extra bedrooms in there, or even so you're not opposed to even going up on a property to add bedrooms and bathrooms. I do see you primarily putting them in the basements, putting legal bedrooms with egress windows and all those kinds of things.
Right. I don't usually go up or back. I usually stay within the same footprint because when you go up and back, and then you got a whole nother set of approvals and permitting that it's going to take a long time, so they can drag this thing whole for many more months. And
so what type of financing are you doing? Are you primarily doing the BRRRR method? And I've seen you speak on that a number of times. If so, why do you use BRRRR, and what are the benefits?
Yeah, BRRRR, for those people who aren't familiar with the term, it's an acronym for it's B and 4 R's. Okay, so it's buy. You buy the house, but I tend to be more strategic where I buy. I don't just buy anything anywhere. Then you renovate. I renovate with the end customer with Ashley in mind. And so I fix it up in such a way that I can attract the Ashleys of this world. And once you've done the renovations, then you rent. So you rent it out. I usually primarily rent to voucher holders. And then once the tenant's in there, then you can refinance. So that way you can sort of, with the increased value of the house, you can replace the short-term financing with permanent financing based on the new value, the appraised value, the higher value. And if it's done correctly, then you can pull a chunk of your money out. But the problem is that it depends on the lender that you go to. Some lenders, they do 70% on the refi. Some do 75, some do 80. I found a lender who, they understand my business model, where they'll go up to 90% and on the refi, and therefore I'm able to pull all my money out and then recycle and do it again, repeat again. So it's a financial. There's a lot of it's a financial strategy, developing relationships with lenders, developing a relationship with private investors, and but if you can align those, then you're able to sort of recycle your money along other projects.
Is the end goal for you to have that asset without having any of your own money in it once you refinance?
Yeah, it's to be able to pull as much of my money out so I can then recycle. So on the acquisition side, typically it's I do a 3-part financing strategy whereby I buy the house. I got a relationship with a commercial lender. They'll go maybe 75% on the acquisition and renovation. Have some private investors who will chip in, and then whatever's left over, I will fund myself. And then on the refi, since we can go up to 85 to 90%, we're able to pay off the first, the commercial lender, pay off the private investors, and whatever's left over, pay me off, and then I just go on to the next one. Okay,
and so you're accumulating assets that way using the BRRRR method.
Yeah, because I'm buying in areas where it's going to appreciate. I mean, it's a bet, if anything, on the long-term viability of that neighborhood. You're making a neighborhood bet that in 5 to 10 years from now, that area where you've purchased is going to appreciate in value. So you may not have a lot of equity on day one after the refi, but you've still got equity, but you're looking for the long term, and whereby the equity is going to increase. But at least you now have all your own money back, so you can recycle, you can buy more.
So talk a little bit about your goals, your current goals. Do you have goals to buy more properties, to educate more people to do exactly what you're doing? Talk a little bit about your goals.
Sure. I mean, my first goal was to be able to transition from the corporate world into full-time real estate investing. I was able to do that in 2003. That was a major goal. Once I hit that milestone, obviously, I had a bit more freedom of my time and be able to do things which I wanted to do. But in terms of where I am now, I mean, I'm still buying. I don't buy as many as you do. I don't buy a house a day like you. I'm not trying to buy the whole of the DC area. I just buy onesie twosies here and there. I've just got to put a contract on the house. So I don't need to buy a lot. I've got a lot of houses. I don't need any more, telling the truth. But I enjoy this business. In fact, it's kind of interesting. I had a conversation with my mother, about a few years ago. My mother, she's in England. Typical mother, she doesn't really get it. She said, why are you buying all these houses? Why? When's enough? Which is a valid question. When is enough?
Yes.
Okay. It's a legitimate question. And that she asked me, why are you doing this? Haven't you got enough? Isn't enough for you? And it kind of got me off guard. And I thought about it. And there was a time where I said, I'm done. I've got enough. I don't need any more.
I remember that. That was a few years ago.
Yeah. And so I stopped literally. And but then like the lady, so the lady, remember the lady I told you about she was scared about her kids getting killed?
Mm-hmm.
If I don't give people like her a chance to live in these better houses, who's going to do it? Okay. For that house, I had 15 applications for that one house. Okay. I had to turn down 14 people. Okay. Who's going to provide housing for those 14 people? Okay. And so it's kind of say, well, if I stop, it's a little selfish, really. I mean, that's my way of thinking. That's how I justified this. If I don't do it, then who's going to do it? Who's going to give chances to these families? Who's going to give a chance to these? I mean, gentrification is running roughshod in DC. These families are getting displaced. who's going to give them a chance to stay there? Okay. Who's going to do it?
Right.
It's going to be people like us. It's going to be people like me. If I train people, if I show people, educate people how to do it. So now I can say, okay, I'm sorry, so-and-so, Ashley, my house is already taken. How about you call Greg? How about you call, Johnny, because, they know how to do what I'm doing, and therefore they got a house. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So that's where I am now, is that I'm more inclined to help other people so they can replicate what I'm doing. As far as I'm concerned, the pie is big enough. It doesn't matter. I mean, I've got over that. It doesn't matter if I tell everybody what I do. The pie is just too big. The demand is too great. I can't meet the need.
Unfortunately, you do tell people, and I freely tell people what I do, but unfortunately, they don't do it. They don't replicate it. We talk about goals. Most people don't have goals.
Right.
I heard you say, I think it was last night, that it was 31% of people don't have goals.
Yeah.
Why is that, Joseph?
Because they're in the comfort zone. I mean, most people have dreams. Okay. But dreams require action. And, you get into that rut. You get into that scare, fear of the unknown. You get into the comfort zone where, things are okay the way they are, and it's too much effort. Let me just watch TV tonight, rather than, listening to, or, looking for deals. I mean, it's easier to just do nothing and than take action. So I think a lot of people are scared of the unknown, fear, so it's easier just not to do anything. But then the next part is, for those people that do something, many times they do the wrong thing and they end up being stuck. Okay, so it's not just doing something, but it's making sure you're aligned with the right people and you get the right information, such that, whatever you do when you take action is going to lead to success, and so on. And so, in my opinion, the fastest way to get to where you want to go is to find people who are already there, and somehow incentivize them to show you how they got there, and they will teach you, help you, show you the fast way to get there. As I said yesterday, a wise man learns from his mistakes. A genius learns from other people's mistakes. Absolutely. So we don't have enough time to make a lot of mistakes. We need to find people who have already made those mistakes, so we can learn from them, so we don't have to make those mistakes.
And that's the importance of coaching. And I know you have a coaching program. I have a coaching program. Many people, they don't pay for the education to minimize their mistakes and get to their goals a lot faster. There's lots of good coaching programs out here. I said on a webinar of yours last night, and I mean, have a great coaching program. We have a great coaching program too. We get a lot of people in our coaching program. A lot of my coaching students on this podcast right now. What do you say to people who say that they don't have enough money or don't want to invest in a coach?
What do I say to people who don't want to do it? I mean, you can go through the school of hard knocks, and I've been there. It's not necessary. There's no need to recreate the wheel. It's a very inefficient way of getting to where you want to go. I think most people are looking for the same thing, which is financial independence. And that means different things to different people. But it's, at the end of the day, it's having the financial resources such that you can have more control over your time, what you do, and things like that. So everybody wants that. And but going through the school of hard knocks, where you go through ups and downs, it's not a very good way of getting there. I mean, when I started, I didn't have anybody. I just had to figure this thing out. I didn't invent what I'm doing, but I understand how to do it. And so if somebody wants to do what I want to do, to me, it just makes a whole lot more sense to try to leverage on my experience and my knowledge, such that they can build on what I've done, rather than try and figure it out themselves. So you're going to pay one way or the other, either through frustration and setbacks, or you could be smarter and align yourself with people who are successfully doing what it is that you want to do.
And so, Joseph, as we wrap up, kind of part of my mission is to improve the lives of African Americans, building Black wealth. My sweet spot also is real estate investing. Why do you think real estate investing, and especially buying and holding, can really help the African American community, one, and then number two, us as individuals build wealth?
I mean, it's a hard asset that most people understand the concept of real estate. Okay. Most people know that, okay, if you buy something, a piece of property, and you hold it for a long time, the value tends to go up. Most people get that. The other thing is, how do you hold it? So you have a tenant, somebody who pays you money so you can pay your debt, so you can afford to hold. So most people grasp that concept. It's not like, what the hell are you talking about? Most people understand that. So I think, it's been proven that real estate is a vehicle to build wealth. I mean, not many people are going to argue against you. The question is, how do you do it? Okay. How do you, how does Ashley, how do we do that? Okay. How do we leverage the power of real estate? I don't have any money. I don't have the credit. I don't have the knowledge. I don't have how do I do this thing? How do I get started? I think that's the challenge for most people. And therefore, it's a matter of giving people the opportunity, giving people the knowledge, the information, the stepping stones to make it happen, take action one step at a time. And, but I don't think, the analogy I give again in Washington is the train is leaving the station. Okay, whether you like it or not, the train is leaving the station in a lot of these neighborhoods. Okay, we can sit down 20 years ago. I remember this. I remember that neighborhood. It's irrelevant. The train is leaving. Okay, the issue is, how do you get onto the train so you can be a beneficiary of that journey? And not just standing by the platform waiting and thinking about how it used to be. So that's really the key: is how do you get onto that train? And that's where the coaching comes in. That's where people who are already on the train can show you how to do it, and will lift a helping hand to hopefully will help you to get onto the train, such that we can build wealth together. Because I gave you that story, I think, earlier on. Where I lived in Washington, when I was there, that block was 100% African American, 100%. Okay. Today, that block is 100% Caucasian. Okay. There's only one African American on that block, one. Okay. And that is my tenant. That is it. Okay. If it wasn't because of me, there is absolutely no way she would be there. And so on. So I'm building wealth, but I'm also giving an opportunity to this family. And I think as more people do that, we can build wealth, we can make a difference, and we can grow, build a community, and we can have a legacy which we can pass on to our children. And rather than sort of, wondering, we can hopefully be we can participate and not just sort of stand idly by and so on.
And so that's what I see a lot of people doing, just standing idly by. There's lots of people out here that are willing to help, willing to give, information and to educate. And that's partly why a lot of people aren't as successful, because they just don't know, they haven't been educated. But there's people like you that are just willing to give out information, and oftentimes free information, so that one can grow. But you just have to take that information and take action.
Take action, yeah. Information is good, and information is it's only limited unless you take action, and that's the part which I think a lot of people are fearful. So what I do, I give people a chance to look over my shoulders as I do deals. As I do what I do here. So therefore people can see how I do it, and therefore increase their sort of confidence, such that they feel comfortable enough to go out there and do it themselves.
Right. All right. And so, Joseph, I just want to thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. You're doing a lot of speaking lately. Every time I turn on social media, I see Joseph getting ready to speak somewhere. I said, Dr. Joseph come a long way.
A long way to the days of God. When did I first meet you? Let's see. Oh God, a long time ago. But yeah, we come a long way. You come a long way, and there's a lot of opportunities out here, and real estate is there's a lot of opportunities in real estate, and I believe in real estate. It's been proven. It's time tested, and it's just now a matter of us taking the courage, taking that, understanding the information, and then taking the next step and taking action.
Well, one last question: do you still stage your rental properties?
Oh yeah. All my houses are staged. Yeah. So what's it called? See, not many landlords stage home. I think I'm the only one who stages home. So when Ashley comes to my house, well, first of all, Ashley goes to your house. Oh, nice house, Greg. Okay, looks okay. When she comes to my house, it looks like a home with furniture there, knickknacks on the walls. You don't stand a shot. You don't stand a chance, Greg. I'm sorry. And that's the point. Is that I stage my home because I understand that people buy on emotions, and you got to have that emotions. People have questions. Is my couch going to fit there? Is my TV going to be? Where's my TV going to be? Where's my bed going to fit there? So we answer all those questions with staging. I mean, it helps that my wife does staging as well, but that. So I have the discounted rate,
Hey, Joe, I give her a lot of business. Can you get me a discounted rate as well?
Well, that's between you and her. I stay out of her business. She said, I'll see if I can give a plug for you. How about that?
Closing remarks, Joseph. Closing remarks. What advice would you give people looking now, looking later at this podcast in terms of building wealth and just kind of growing financially, building generational wealth for themselves and for their families? Sure. What advice would you give them?
5 things. One is take time to understand yourself, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what your goals are. Make sure you get buy-in from your spouse or your family, because you need that. It's hard to be going forward when someone's pulling you back. And so you got to get that buy-in. That's number 1. Part 2 is, there are lots of different strategies. There's buy and hold, there's wholesaling, there's flipping, there's lots of different strategies. You pick one, okay, that makes sense for you where you are, and that's got a lot to do with what's your cash situation. So if your cash needs are being met, then you can probably gravitate to more of a cash flow strategies. If your cash needs are not being met, then obviously you want to take care of those things first. And that's number 2. Once you decide on the strategy, then number 3 is learn the basics. I don't think you can learn everything. It's not possible. I mean, you told me you were taking notes yesterday. So, I mean, you can't know everything, and so learn the basics. But part 4 would be to align yourself with people who are successfully doing what it is that you want to do. That's where the coaching comes in. That's where the mentorship comes in. Find people who are doing what it is that you want to do, whatever that is. Okay, who are not just doing it, but successfully doing it. And they can prove that they've done it. Okay, not just talking about it. And then align with them. And then number 5 would be take action, get on with it, do a deal, pull the trigger. I mean, that's at the end of the day, you have to pull the trigger. And so those are my 5 steps, my 5 suggestions for somebody who wants to, start at the ground level and wants to pursue legacy wealth and leverage the power of real estate.
There you go. All right, Joseph. Very good. Very good, Joseph. You know what? I might have you back again one day. You did so well.
One day, huh? Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things we can talk about. I enjoy this business. It's a great business. I think what you say and what your your mission is a valid one. We need to create legacy wealth. We need to build wealth. If we don't do it, who's going to do it for us?
Right. And so that's the thing. Many people wait for a handout. Like, no more handouts. We
It's
got to
not
do it.
happening.
We've got to do it ourselves.
Yeah,
And so we've got to educate. We've got to
yeah,
talk about it. But then at the end of the day, you've got to take action. But so
exactly.
no more handouts. Let's go. Let's
Yeah,
get it.
it is what it is. I mean, if we can't take care of our own community, then who's going to take care of it for us? Nobody.
And to your point, we see a lot of other communities taking care of themselves.
Exactly.
And so we sometimes have a kind of a crab in a barrel mentality where we're bringing each other down. Like we've got to support each other.
Exactly. And again, that's how I believe. That's why I'm saying it's the pie, as far as I'm concerned, is big enough for everybody. It doesn't really matter if I, share what I do, show people what I do. It's okay. Good is going to come back to me anyway. But it also gives people a chance to build themselves up and build other people up and make a difference in other people's lives. So it's all good.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. All right, Joseph, really appreciate it. Really appreciate you coming on. We'll do some deals in the future, and have a great day. Thanks for.
If anyone wants to reach out to me, a couple of ways they can do that if it's okay. I have every Wednesday I do a Wealth Wednesdays on Instagram and Facebook. It's free. I just sort of share quality content, and 7 p.m. Eastern time, so you can check me out. Go to my website. You can sign up for every week I do a newsletter as well. It's free. And, every now and then I do programs. If you're interested, just go to my website and you get more information. So it's all about helping everybody else.
Yeah. And if you guys want to reach me, you can go to Greg Bennett Invest on IG, Greg Bennett Invest. Follow me. We'll be bringing more content, better content out for you so that you can take that content and take action with it and learn. And like Joseph, I really didn't have any mentors starting off. I bought my first property at 23 years old. And I was reading, remember an old guy named Carlton Sheets?
Yeah, Carlton Sheets, Dave Del Dalto, and all those guys. Oh, yeah, the good old days. These guys peddling their courses on YouTube, palm trees in the background.
That was before the internet.
Exactly. Oh my God! Before the internet.
Carlton Sheets late night on TV infomercials.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think I got his course as well.
Yeah. All right, man. Take care.
Okay, thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure. I really appreciate the opportunity, Greg. Have a good day.
All right, you too. All right, bye-bye.
Okay.